everyone pays for an education, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, like, if you're expecting to get a 5x return or a 10x return immediately, like, I don't know, it might happen. It could happen, but the thing is, you got to temper your expectations. You got to keep realistic expectations and just, enjoy the process. Just understand it's not going to happen overnight. Just build it slowly, or it doesn't have to be slow, I guess, but be okay if you don't get it right away. Well, thanks for joining us this week on the Elite Sales Podcast. I'm joined in studio, by my good buddy, the guy that actually brought me into the business, Jack Yu, senior board member or soon to be senior board member of FFL Financial. So appreciate you coming and joining us.
Thanks for having me, Albert. Appreciate you.
We also have my my head of media productions, Yoel, Aynalem.
What's up, guys?
Just sitting in with us, going to shoot the breeze with us a little bit. Right. But yeah, Jack's actually the guy that brought me into the business, and I've known him for over
14 years.
Yeah. It's been a while.
Wow.
So I've actually known Jack as a buddy for a while, even like outside of work, because we actually met at our last company. And why don't you tell them a little bit about that?
Yeah. I had come back to California after leaving a career that I had done for over a decade and just trying to reinvent myself. And I was sleeping on our friend's couch. And Daniel's couch.
Wow.
And just looking for a job. I thought my resume looked great. I don't think anybody else thought so. So it was tough. I did a job. It was 2008, heat of the recession back then. And our best friend's girlfriend at the time was a top producer at the insurance company where we met. So I figured, okay, I get my license, give it a shot. And I met some really great people, got some really great training. But I wasn't in the right frame of mind at the time. So it didn't work out for me. So I ended up leaving, but I was so glad I met you and a bunch of other people. And but that wasn't paying the bills, So I left the industry. I chalked it up to experience and just move forward. Flash forward a few years. I still had my license, and I had moved on to other things. I had gotten to some startup companies, sold them off, made a few bucks. And was working a digital media job doing B2B, which is basically going up and down Main Street, trying to find people that wanted to buy ad space from the LA News Group. So it was an interesting job, but the boss was a real jerk and was giving me an ulcer. I'd come home really stressed out. So I was like, this is not the place for me. And so I found these guys, and that's where it started. We started Family First Life about 8 years ago.
So you're here from the beginning.
Yeah, pretty much. And man, you talk about the changes that have taken place. It's been so game changing, everything from leads to the technology that we have now with the ILC. I mean, this is stuff we didn't have back then. And it's been a real remarkable feat that in such a short period of time we've been able to evolve as an organization. And because frankly, I had a lot of baggage. And even when I was selling life insurance, I always had this chip on my shoulder, like, this is not really what I'm doing. This is not what I'm going to be doing. And I could never foresee myself being a lifetime financial services person, never, so I had to break out of that. And I hear people talk about no plan B. I was in the back of my mind, I thought, well, I could be doing this and I could be doing that. So without having my wholehearted effort into it, it's like, you're not aiming for success.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. When you first started here at FFL, I mean, you didn't do very good at our last company.
No.
We always joked, we're like, you probably spent more on lunch than you actually made.
Yeah.
But when you started here at FFL, did you get off to a good start? I mean, was there a learning curve? Like how was it?
Yeah. So at the previous organization after our first company, it was challenging to say the least. But when we came to Family First Life, we took advantage of a lot of things changing, and it did start getting traction. And that was the breakthrough that I had worked so hard for. I think I was very cognizant of the fact that I didn't have confidence, and I wasn't treating it like a business, like you said. All these factors, I knew where I was going wrong. I just had a hard time changing my situation. So, but the one thing I think that saved me was the fact that, like you said in the beginning of the podcast, like spending money on leads, treating it like a business, making sure you have enough resources. And that's one of the things that I've been looking at is the three variables in a person's business. Firstly, yeah. Well, firstly is, resources. I mean, do you have leads? Period. We started this company. You didn't need an office. You just needed some gas and a bunch of leads. So that's your main resource, right? Later, you evolve into staff and office space and different ways to help grow your business. First, for us, it was we tried to minimize the upfront costs because we knew, it was a leap of faith for many people to step from a W-2 environment to suddenly treating it like a business and spending money on leads. So that was the thing that, as belligerent, as begrudging as I was not afraid to go spend some money on leads. And the cool thing is I could fail as much as I needed to. In a sense, I joke around. I'm like, hey, I could pay for my education, So I was like, okay, because I had spent a year plus at other organizations, didn't get traction. And if it was going to work this time, particularly given the fact that I was part-time at this from the get-go, I was going to have to pour more in to leads. And I wanted to have, I wanted to see if I was going to float or sink quickly. So that's
how long before you, as far as purchasing leads and seeing a return, how long until you kind of mastered it?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I mastered it, but it was for me. That's why I don't like to tell people, because I don't want to scare them away. But I think the fruits of my labor finally paid off, but it did take me a real long time. But for me at that point in time, doubling my money or tripling my money was a good start. Because like we pointed out when I was with you, I barely made enough money to pay for lunch, right. Literally. So I took that model, and I totally took advantage of it, because I notice there are people that I work with that are doing, helping 10 families a month, 15 families a month, and they're spending money, and they're making money. They're profitable. In fact, they may not be making 5 times their investment costs, but they're definitely doubling, even tripling their money. And you get to that point in time where, for me, it was like, okay, first it was hard enough to come out of pocket to spend leads in the first place. And then, you got to put yourself to work, get diligent on the phone. And that's the second thing, is the amount of activity you have, right? But the first part was realizing at a certain point, well, I can only do so much if I'm active and diligent on the phone. And the third thing is your skill set. If I'm putting in the time to get better at the phones, to get better at my in-home presentation or my phone scripts, then it's a matter of, doubling down. So that's
what doubling down mean?
Yeah. Firstly, from a resource perspective, coming out, I spent $1,000 a week. That was what I was told to do.
Right.
So I started spending $1,000 a week. That was a challenge at first, to do it every week. You'd have good weeks and say, oh no, I still got some leads left over. Or you have a bad week in particular and say, well, maybe I'll just hold off for this week. But that's something that, if you look at the lead cycle, the amount of appointments that you get this week is, of course, attributable to how many leads you buy this week. There's always going to be a rollover effect from the weeks before.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You'll get somebody that told you, hey, let's reschedule for next week. And you'll hit those leads again. And you'll get a certain number of leads from appointments from last week's leads, the weeks before last week's leads, and with the technology, we were able to move it so fast and call so quickly. You can do internet on a phone burner. With that capability, it just keeps the cycle going. So it's very important that each week, regardless of how good or how bad the week was, you stay consistent. And that's what you were talking about, treating like a business.
Yeah.
So when you ask me doubling down, I was spending the money and it was hard to do. and I was making money. I was like, okay, so I'm still in the game, but I wasn't having any real major breakthroughs. And that's what I was really looking for. Because I realized that in Family First Life, there's so many people that are treating it like a business that are getting some sort of major breakthroughs. Right? Yeah. You know, going from 10 families a month to 30 families a month to 40 families a month. Yeah. And that's the breakthrough I was looking for. So for me, it was literally just a proportional thing. Yeah. You know, yeah. If I could spend $1,000 and make, double, triple my money, then it was time to double down. So I'd literally go out and search for more leads.
And results may vary. Disclaimer.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it has to do with how quickly you pick things up, how much you work, how consistent you are with this whole thing. Because the thing is, it's not going to happen overnight. Like I remember when I first started, I was like, when I bought my first set of leads, maybe for my first month or so, I was like, when I buy these leads, I just want to break even. Right. That's my bare minimum I need to do, because,
you're still in the game at that point, right?
Everyone pays for an education, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, like, if you're expecting to get a 5x return or a 10x return immediately, like, I don't know, it might happen. It could happen. But the thing is, you got to temper your expectations. You got to keep realistic expectations and just, enjoy the process. Just understand it's not going to happen overnight. Just build it slowly, or it doesn't have to be slow, I guess, but be okay if you don't get it right away.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you started and then you kind of took a little bit of a break as, some stuff came up, but
yeah.
Has that generally been your experience from what Jack's been talking about?
Yeah. And what's funny is we all started at the same company, and I kind of had a similar experience as Jack, where, we were there around the same amount of time. We just talked about this, which is funny. I was there like 9 months. I think you were there. You said 8 months, right? Something like that. Yeah. And like, it wasn't an enjoyable experience whatsoever, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot. I bashed my head against the wall. I learned all of these different skills, because of the difficultiness I had to learn to stay above water, at the end of the day. Right. So bringing that into this business, for me, it's made me more grateful for sure for this business. And obviously, when I get time to kind of dedicate more time into it, I've already kind of dabbled into it, and I've realized, like, man, this is like completely different, and this is definitely an opportunity that, you have to leave that stuff behind. As he was saying, like, you have to leave any sort of baggage, any sort of, for me, it was trauma, to be honest. For me, I was like, dude, I had no money in my account, coming from a different state, not really having any friends, it was all commission gig, not having any money. And dude, if I wasn't making, X amount of dollars, dude, I wasn't able to pay rent. I would have to go back home. Right. That was like not an option. So like the stress level, chargebacks over there were just, and my feeling, again, this is just my experience, I felt like they were way, way more frequent, and you had to sell from a more scarce kind of perspective, because, just how it's structured. You had to kind of just close whatever you felt could be closed, rather than here, where you're just kind of like, you hopefully you structure it in a way where, you can take it or leave it. You want good clients rather than, necessarily closing whoever you want. Again, this is just my personal experience, but I definitely feel that is the case.
Well, it's interesting too, because like for you, so when Yoel and I met, he came on to handle my social media and, do all this great work that he does. But I remember a few guys had asked him, they're like, hey, since you're still licensed, like, maybe you come on and sell a little bit too. And then, they brought it up to you and you're like, no.
I was like, heck no.
So
I can't curse, but I said, heck no.
But then you started seeing how it worked here and the differences. Yeah. Then you're like, just one day you're like, I think I want to do this.
Yeah. Well, I think the virtual aspect of it was that push for sure, just because of just how I wanted to do things and just how I felt, really where the industry was going, and just, driving out. Like I honestly felt like that was a major point, just because of the fact of having my territory was Lancaster, Palmdale. So that was like an hour away. Right. And then, I remember having like driving out there for like one appointment and just getting no-showed, and then I was busted, and I had to drive all the way back, right? Like, but the thing is, like, that was so annoying to me that the concept of like driving to someone's house and like getting no-showed was so traumatic to me at that point, and so annoying and so like irritating, that I was like, okay, well, if I can do this over the phone, man, let's do it, because then I don't have to, at least there's one thing that was so annoying at the old company that I don't have to do here, and that's part of the game. The nice thing here is it's a little bit different than over there. Over there, you were a little bit limited as far as you're very limited as far as your leads, because you were kind of taking what they were giving you. So you're able to control that more here, right? If you want to put yourself in a scenario where, you're not driving out for one appointment, you can do that here. That's what's kind of cool, right? But just from my perspective of the industry, based off my past experience, that was a reason for me to kind of move forward. And obviously other reasons at that point, I had, started to understand the business and understand how it's structured. So, for me, I was just like, okay, cool. That was like the last thing that was like, let's see if I can do this.
I mean, it's kind of an interesting dynamic, because obviously Jack's the guy that brought me into Family First Life, so I'm part of his team. But I love watching the evolution or the growth of people within this company, because obviously I've seen Yoel go from someone that had a bad experience from previous company, and then he was like, I'm not in, and then it started slowly, like, he's editing all our videos and just watching all the success, and he's like, I think I want to do this. And then like a guy like Jack, I remember him from our previous company, and I was like, yeah, he's gonna have a tough go at it. and then like we stayed friends, and you went to another company before FFL, and then you had reached out to me a couple of times trying to recruit me.
Sure.
And then like every time, like, it wasn't. I heard from our buddy Daniel that you were doing well, and I'm like I was happy for you, but I just wasn't ready to leave that company yet. So then, like, every time I was like, thanks, Jack, appreciate it, but I'm trying to figure things out here. And then you came here, then you started having more success, and then I was like, good for Jack. And so I mean, like, it was just interesting to watch, and obviously, I think the biggest thing is the time that you put into it. Because the thing is, you could easily just gave up after the first few tries, right? But then you kept going at it. I mean, I was gonna say FFL, with all the advantages that we have, which there's plenty. I was going to say that's the reason why you're able to make a career, but that's a disservice to you, because you worked hard and you earned it.
No, and I think you're absolutely right. It's a combination of factors. You have to be in the right place and time, frame of mind.
Yep.
Right, Yoel. A lot of us come. I mean, I think that's the beauty of Family First Life, is that we're like industry busters. You look at our literature and our resources, like, hey, we're the rogues. We're making a difference and we're changing things, and it's marketing, but at the same time, it's really true. Where else can you find an opportunity that can match it? I think literally Sean is taking the time to piece together like all the strengths, from the industry, and pull them in one place. So that's the thing that makes it so much more tangible for people, and then when you get people succeeding at that level and all over the country, and we're all tied together now through like social media like this, it's like easy to see every day. Like, hey, look at these people. They're doing so well. Look at these people help that many families, and then sooner or later, when you're around that kind of buzz, that kind of energy, it just makes you want to jump right in,
For sure.
Yeah. Well, with all the components that we have, if you compare against all the other IMOs, any other alleged competition out there, I mean, that's the thing. It's not by mistake. Sean obviously does his research. And, that's one thing, one reason why we can feel this confident, because we know he's going to outwork every other CEO in the industry, right? He's a madman. He goes out there and he puts in that type of work, and that's why we know this is a legitimate opportunity. Now, again, I mean, if you're someone like Jack who didn't have a ton of success at the beginning, but the thing is, if you didn't continue to push forward, continue to learn, continue to try to get better, it doesn't matter how good of an opportunity you have, you'll still find a way to squander it. You'll still find a way to like underutilize all of whatever's worth.
And I will say, like, that is a factor. Like, you have to have a different mentality for when you go do something else, but also it could really be just the wrong vehicle for you, right? Like, say you're in a relationship, say it doesn't work out with that particular person, does that mean relationships are bad? No, maybe it just wasn't the right person, right?
Right.
For me, I'm realizing, yeah, I could have worked harder. We could have always worked harder in the past IMO or, insurance company or the next, right? But the thing is just how it's structured may have not made sense for us or for whoever, right? So I would say like whoever's coming from a previous, company or wherever they're from, just because, you were average or below average over there, that does not mean that will be the case or that should be the case here. And like because a lot of times we try to equate, okay, I did this over here. That means I should do this over. It's like, that's not really the case,
Right. It's not even just like the opportunity, like it's not the right fit. Sometimes it's not the right fit because of the timing.
Yeah,
A
for
lot of
sure.
it has to do with, and it's not like it's like the economy or whatever. It's more about, I've been through that experience. I thought it wasn't for me. I've hit rock bottom, or maybe I tried other things and I recognize that's really not me.
Yeah.
And then you start to kind of like, your perspective changes over time because, you've lived a little bit more life.
Yeah.
So as long as you keep an open mind for yourself and you give yourself that opportunity, like you could always come back from anything.
Yeah. And I think for me also, like just starting to build a team and starting to kind of, help train people, even train people that aren't on my team, because I do have that, sales experience, not a ton here at FFL, but just from our you had to learn quick if you wanted to survive at our old company. So I've just learned so much and been in so many presentations. So like learning, teaching people here, that was something that you kind of had to wait until you got promoted, right? At our old company. So like here, being able to just kind of like run it how you run it, train how you want to train, help people. That's something that I'm super interested in. That's something that I want to do, and then obviously as my team grows, be involved in the branding and the social media end, because guess what? That's what I do. Right. So, doing that for my team, it's just, doing all these other things that wouldn't have really made sense at the old company or, little story. I tried to make it happen at the old company, but they kind of looked at me like I was like a weirdo. Right. So it's just like being in this vehicle that facilitates, kind of things that I envisioned for the industry as a whole. It's really great. And it's a testament to FFL for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're at our old company. I mean, it's funny, you look back and you can't really be a manager if you don't hit certain criteria. They don't anoint you and they don't tell you can do this. I'm like, leadership's leadership, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, if you want to help other people out, if you're in a position, and the thing is, I see you around the office just helping random people out.
Yeah.
And then like when you get an opportunity to do stuff like that, it actually helps you improve your own personal business.
Yeah.
Because the thing that keeps you accountable, you have to have value to give to others, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have a reason to do it, sometimes you just don't. And which is like one thing I've loved about FFL. It's just, you come in and start building right away. You come in and just start doing whatever, take your business, whatever direction you want to go. Obviously, if you need money, go sell first.
Yeah.
Like first and foremost. But then like, if you know how to manage your money or you got a little bit of money, then yeah, if you want to start building a team, I mean, like it's a process with that too. And that's something that I knew immediately I wanted to do, but I wasn't like sitting around waiting like, okay, can I start building a team now? Or,
Right.
am I able to lead somebody? So I mean, it's been great. And I've been watching you too, Jack, because Jack's you've been Hall of Fame for how many years here?
3 personal, 2 as an agency.
Okay, so 5-time Hall of Famer. So,
Okay.
but I mean, yeah, when I came in, you're entirely personal production based. You're focused on selling. You're a beast in the field. And I remember I went on first day I went in the field with you. I remember the old Jack. And I was thinking like, oh, this is gonna be a rough day.
Oh no.
Jeez.
I was just being realistic. No, but I didn't build up like these huge expectations either. But we went out and we had a good time. You end up like protecting like 10 families that day, right?
Wow.
Something like that.
So you guys had worked together in what capacity at the old company? Like, were you guys part of the same team or?
I was actually the manager, and then he was.
Oh, you were his upline?
Yeah,
I was the pawn.
I did some of his. So
That's funny.
I was like, the shoe's on the other foot now here. No, but I mean, I don't know. I took my ego out of it because I'm just here to learn, and like, if I can do anything that's part of Jack's team, I'm like, I willingly came on board. Like, he didn't put a gun to my head and said, you need to join my team. Like,
yeah.
If I do well and his team grows and he has success, I mean, like, I should be happy for him.
Yeah.
And I've been.
I think
That's
that's
cool.
the fantastic part of what's going on right now is that, like you said, you don't have to be deemed this or deemed that.
Yeah.
And when you're sharing positive energy like that, an organization can really take root. I think people are real flexible. And like you said, if you're in the right frame of mind, the right space, why not? In a healthy organization, you should be able to do both.
Right.
Go out and sell at a very high level, enjoy what you do, and be rewarded highest in the industry. At the same time, you don't have to, but if you want to, why not share the knowledge, share the wealth, share the experience.
Yeah.
And it builds people into better performers and leaders.
Yeah.
Just knowing that, it's completely what you make of it. And then you start having people that are firing on all cylinders. Yeah, I'm producing while I'm concurrently I'm building and I'm enjoying both and I'm having success in both. And then people around the country can just take, the example from that.
Right.
We have so many people doing that.
Yeah.
So at what point did you realize you're going to get out of the field a little bit and then focus more on building a team?
Right.
What led that or what initiated that?
Right. I think the company had evolved to the point where, there were people actually exiting the field for the first time, and we'd seen people come and do it and sometimes prematurely.
Yeah.
And so we just basically, I think the beauty of the system here is that it's fully duplicatable. There's no mystery. I've worked at other places before where it was kind of like a mystery, like what was the secret sauce?
Oh yeah. That would annoy the heck out of me.
It happened all the time at the last place.
Yeah, people are not
And it wasn't a
sharing
secret. Yeah.
Or
information.
they deliberately tell you stuff that they don't do, and
But
then
they don't do it so that you'll do it and you won't get. Yeah,
That's like gaslighting in its fullest extent. Like they're being like, how come you can't do it? It's like, dude, I don't know. What are you doing? It's like, I don't know. I'm doing the same thing as you. It's like, no, you're not.
It's entirely a scarcity mindset.
It's annoying.
Yeah. So actually, it was a big challenge for me because it took me a while to ramp up to that speed. I mean, this is before we were even doing virtual. In fact, the ironic thing is throughout the entire COVID, when it was bad, we're like, no, let's keep going, full force, which is great. But then we didn't actually make the transition to do the hybrid or the virtual until maybe 6 months ago, 8 months.
Yeah, I was going to say
like
6 months.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that was a big change. But I would literally, like for years, be driving around very far.
You did.
My back would be killing me. I'm like, oh my God, I'm hungry. I want to go home.
Yeah.
But no, you grow up with tolerance. You grow a muscle memory.
Yeah.
And it becomes second nature. When it was time to start, pulling back a bit to dedicate more time to the growth of the team, it was very challenging. Because you're used to that constant momentum. And I love meeting people.
Yeah, same.
And building. Since it wasn't forefront of everything I did, was a bit challenging. Wrapping your head around something new.
Mm-hmm.
So was there like a big mental switch or a rough transition going from personal production into building a team full time?
I don't think so, because I mean, even though it might not, I didn't have a humongous team from the get go. It was an ongoing, consistent effort on both sides. But there are definitely challenges in transitioning. But I think, again, the beauty of it is there's so many other people doing it.
Yeah.
If you want to know how to sell some life insurance, we've got the best people, and they're very transparent. You can get on a podcast from different teams all over the country, and they'll tell you, A, I bought this many leads. B, I was on the phone this much time, and I made this many dials, and I spoke to this many people, and I booked this many appointments, and here's how I spoke to them. If you want to learn how to help others reach their goals, then you can literally it's just a podcast away. Get on and they'll tell you, hey, I did the same. I acquired resources, or I got involved in social media from this aspect, and I started talking to these people through messaging, and it's very detail oriented. So yeah, the resources are there if you want to just grab and go.
And do you you're still in the field?
Not these days.
Not these days.
Yeah, I still have my book of business.
I think I like the concept. I try to get people on Zoom or FaceTime. I like that. I don't like just talking, just voice personally. I like to have them remember me, and I like to remember them, just to have that. I'm also just a visual person, and I like to see how people are responding to what I say, so I understand where I'm at as far as when I'm communicating with them. But I don't know. I just wanted your opinion on that, I guess.
Yeah, we're actually doing Zoom every day.
Oh, okay,
So
nice.
I'm literally on Zoom every day, 6 days a week.
Okay.
And I think you're right. I mean, the hybrid approach is great.
Yeah.
But to see how people have through Zoom or strictly over the telephone have been able to get their feet planted and get serious results
Yeah.
has been amazing to me.
100%.
Yeah. I honestly doubted it for a long time.
Yeah,
Same.
Me too. I just thought like I'm like face to face works great. Like, why would you change anything up?
Nothing good happens over the phone. They always used to say that, right?
Right?
And the funny thing is I had a personal experience, right? Whenever you'd at the old company, whenever you try to, talk about, life insurance over the phone, they'd be like, oh, this is about life insurance. No, I don't want that. Right. But the thing is how our old company was structured.
Right.
It makes sense why it didn't make sense.
Yes.
Right. But here it's way different. Right. So if they're like, it's about life. Oh, okay, cool. Let's take care of it right now. It's not all the time, obviously, but over there, that just would not have worked. Just predicate on the business
The
model.
leads matter.
Yeah,
The
100%.
leads definitely matter. And
100%.
that our old company wasn't always about life insurance. It was about like almost anything but life insurance. So yeah,
We laugh as we cry.
And well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, all that stuff. I mean, and we talk about that coming from another company, but actually, I think it's been a great thing because it's all like a learning experience. The thing is, we wouldn't appreciate what we have now
100%.
if we hadn't gone through that. We wouldn't appreciate to this degree.
Yeah.
We wouldn't understand, like, no matter how bad of a lead we have here,
Yeah.
it's still better than what we had before.
Oh, heck yeah.
Right.
No, yeah, totally.
And then I don't know. I mean, and plus, I mean, like, I wouldn't know a guy like Jack if it wasn't for that company. I wouldn't know the people that we met through.
Mhm.
I mean, like, life happens all for a reason.
All for a reason.
So the
Sure.
thing is,
For sure.
we just got to appreciate it.
For sure.
Yeah, met a lot of great people there. Met a couple jerks.
100%.
But overall, I mean, like, I'm there for all of it. It was just great. Hey, now that you're in the position to like focus on building a team, what's the next step for you?
I think the transition has been to make sure that not only am I building with, meaning getting new agents, but also ensuring that people that come on build themselves when they're ready.
Yeah.
I think that's been something interesting for me because having been my sales being my primary focus, I think for a long period of time, we were able to bring on a very strong group of people that sold very well, but sending the message for them to sell, and build, has been in the forefront as much.
How do you think you can do a better job to get people to understand the importance of building? I mean, if they want to,
okay.
What are the keys to get them to understand that early on?
Well, I mean, showing them some of the social media platforms that we use. I think a lot of people are getting traction through Instagram and LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I think exposing that and making that the focus of some of our podcasts has been great. Also, being there for agents that want to develop. So I think one thing that I've learned from Andrew is that he was so good at getting to know an agent and then letting their warm market become his warm market.
Right.
And that's the way that you can help to expand your efforts.
Right.
And it's all organic. You can put out so many ads.
Right.
So, and another thing that's been very important to me is that I hear a lot of our leaders talk about the year of quality over quantity, because you can talk to so many people through social media and through paid for advertising and free advertising, but to see them actually get traction is an important thing. Yeah. So sometimes we're moving at the speed of light and you're putting people in contracting and getting people excited. Yeah. But then when it comes down to actually performing and getting them paid, I think a lot of our attention is now being focused on making sure they get paid quickly and on a timely basis. Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely an evolution. I mean, I look at the business differently. Every few months, I feel like I look at it a little bit differently. Overall, the same mechanics are the same. We're still focusing on the same things, but like my perspective changes over time. Like as we have the different experiences that we undergo.
True.
So, yeah. So can you also tell me we have a great vice president bonus?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's, you get to a certain level, you hit vice president, and then you start getting an additional bonus, a non-chargeback bonus on top of, your overrides, everything else. Whatever you personally do, your renewals. I mean, there's just so many different ways for you to get paid. But for you to maximize your VP bonus, you have to make sure that your organization's built a certain way. Can you kind of like talk about the way to make sure that you're balanced and
Correct.
not too heavy in one leg?
Correct. I think it's important then, like Albert, you're very intentional about how you build your structure. So that's something that at first, I mean, we're not paying as much attention to because we're trying to just get the word out and talk to more people. And I think Trey says it best. Is building an agency is a combination of factors, but foremostly is just you can overestimate what you can do in a week, but you can underestimate what you can do in a year's time. So make sure you're consistent. Introduce this opportunity to 2 new people each week, and then within 6 months, a year, you'll see that take shape. But then when you start getting to a sizable agency, then you want to start paying attention to certain metrics, right? VP bonus is better than it's ever been, and getting better. And I think that's the thing, that when you start looking at your agency, you want to talk about, well, the thing you talked about was the metrics between how many teams you have, how many vice presidents you have, how many VPs you have at top commission. These are all things that Family First is taking into consideration to make sure that you can maximize your VP bonus. That's a fantastic thing. I think the beauty of it comes from the fact that a lot of places, and the places where we came from, and you experience when you get to a certain level, and you reach the top comp in that company, and you have agencies or producers or partners below you, it becomes counterproductive to see them grow. Right. That's stifling, especially when you poured in so much time and energy and to get people going, and then you get excited for their growth. But then to see them come all the way up, then this feeling, oh my gosh, I'm losing some benefit by you getting too big too fast. That's counterproductive. Right. So Sean and Family First has totally changed that business model when it comes to VP bonus.
Right. Yeah. You don't have to hold anybody back. You just want to help everybody get up to that top level of carrier contract.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then once they get to that point, I mean, the thing is that VP bonus, it'll reward you accordingly.
Yeah.
If you structure it the right way.
Correct.
So, I mean, I think coming, and I hate continuing to bring up our old company, but the thing is that you try to suppress people at a certain point, because once they get to the same level, like there's no more financial benefit.
Yeah.
Which is you're happy for your guy, but then at that point you're both building separate silos.
Yeah. Right? And you're probably not happy for your guy because you're annoyed because you put in a lot of work, and you might genuinely like that person, right? But you put in so much work for something. This is a lot of people's livelihoods. This is serious business. This is how people pay their bills. And, as that person grows, you're making less and less money. It's not necessarily even their fault. It's just structured really dumb. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely not their fault, because we should never want to hold anybody back.
No,
everyone should have that opportunity. But the way it was structured before, it just didn't make very much sense.
No.
But then here, I mean, like we'll never have that problem.
Yeah, that's cool.
If they get up to the same level, your VP bonus will cover that. And then plus, I don't know. I mean, recently, this is one thing. You want to stay balanced. You don't want to have just one leg. Because I remember when I came on board with Jack, and Jack's my buddy, and he was always very available for me. Whenever I called him, he was available. He would reach out to me, a bunch of times and be like, "Hey, do you need anything?" And I don't really need a lot of stuff, right? So I'm,
pretty dependent.
Yeah. So like for me, I was like, no, I'm good. Yeah. I was like, no, I'm good. But then it got to the point where I'm like, I still had my old school mentality from my previous company. I'm like, I'm Jack doesn't stack everybody under me. Right. But then like short term, I was thinking like, yeah, I could help work with those people and blah, blah, blah. But then again, you start to understand business a little bit more as you grow your own. And then you realize, yeah, that kind of actually would have hurt him long term. So then like, I'm like, I can now kind of understand. So the higher you move up, then, the more you'll understand why things are structured the way that they are. So short term, don't get too attached to whatever you think your idea of what the business should be, because you got a lot to learn still. You're not anywhere near where you're going to be in 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years from now. Like, you'll have a very much different understanding, much different perspective, and you'll give yourself that opportunity to grow. And on top of that, I mean, especially with the way that the bonus is set up, I'm like, even if Jack had stacked me up to a certain point, and like, what am I always going to be dependent on Jack? Like, it actually empowered me sooner to figure out, like, I just needed to start building this thing on my own. Because if I build this thing on my own, I know how to scale it later on. Like, I've learned all those lessons that I needed to learn along the way to continue to build my business, to take it to the next level. Because what got you to a certain level is not going to get you to the next level. You have to continue to evolve. Yeah. But if I was dependent on Jack the entire time for that, then I would have short term, I would have got there faster. But then long term, I missed all the lessons.
Yeah, because then you're handicapped, right?
Right.
You're handicapped by that person. If that person goes away, you're out of business. You're not growing.
Or, I mean, even if he doesn't go away, but the thing is, he's got to grow his business with other legs, and he's got to start focusing on other people. Yeah. And then if that's a point, then, like, I don't know, maybe I would feel resentful. Maybe I would be like, yo, where's my help? How are you not helping me out?
Oh, anymore? For sure.
But I'm glad we never got to that point. I'm glad, like, learned early on and just figured out, like, got to just try to figure out a way to build on my own and continue to help out whatever I can with you when you needed stuff. But we're all just building on our own. We're all just figuring it out. And the better that you can find ways to work together, then the faster you get there. But
it's like rich kids, right? Like, their parents will, like, give them stuff, and then they'll be like, why are you taking my Maserati away from me? Oh my God. It's like, you get to a place where, like, they might, obviously that's an extreme example, but it's funny how much people feel entitled to things that were given to them and they didn't earn. It's really interesting. It's something that I've learned just throughout life and, just being involved in business and stuff.
I can't relate to those rich kids.
Oh, I'm sure. Neither can I. Trust me.
I've never been entitled. This is the hardest working guy around. Yeah. And when he came deep, so he knew how to groove fast, and they took advantage of that.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, that part was relatively easy getting to that point. But then I'm like, all right, how do we continue to grow this thing? Mm-hmm. It took a whole new version of me to try to figure things out.
Yeah. I think that's the beauty of it. This opportunity, it never gets dull, constantly evolving, and it'll keep you on your A game throughout the whole process. And that's exciting. Yeah. I've worked at other places for, 10 years at a time, 12 years at a time. And, an opportunity can, if it's not evolving, it can become very, stagnant. And this has been really exciting. And I think you're experiencing that too now. So it's great to see Elite really evolve so fast, and change with the times.
Yeah. Well, we still got a long way to go. And we still got a lot more work to put in. And I know that starts with me. I mean, I know recently we decided I got to start popping out some new legs and start working with some new people that are direct to me, because it's not about the money part. It's more about, I need that challenge, and I need new people, that new blood to come in. And, it's been a fun change of direction a little bit. But I mean, obviously we're still helping everyone else out, but that's business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've been here from nearly the beginning. Mm. So if you can go back in time and you could, like, do things differently, what would you change?
Well, this is fun. I love these questions.
I'm curious because he's my buddy too. So I'm like, I'm always, like, interested in my friends.
For sure.
So what would you do differently if you were able to start
that's a good question. I would definitely start recruiting sooner. When I came, I was so full of skepticism. It didn't keep me from working, but it definitely didn't push me out fast enough. I was always doubting this and doubting the leads and doubting the phone script and, doubting the clients, and then wondering, is it because of me, or is it because of that? So I had a lot of question marks, and focused on sales to get that part right. So I was one of the people that says, yeah, I don't think I'll start, building a team until I know what I'm doing, that kind of thing. Where I think, like any new skill set, you just want to embrace it and jump right head first. And if you're going to be full-time somewhere, I tell this to my own kid, if you're going to be doing something 8 hours a day, 12 hours a day, or full-time, you might as well just put your all in there. And with today's climate at Family First Life, people are doing both. Like I said, you're selling and they're growing. Mm-hmm. So why not take advantage of both? Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I mean, that's you guys will see Jack around. He's got one of the funniest laughs in FFL. Mark Mead's up there, right? Mark Mead's got a pretty good one.
Yeah, Mark's funny.
But yeah, I mean, I appreciate you coming down, just sharing your story with us, and just it's been fun watching you grow, and wherever you guys are personally, you know, in your whatever stage of your career that you're currently in, just remember at one point everybody was there. The only thing was for you to get up to this level and to continue to grow and continue to evolve. I mean, you just got to not give up. So no matter how bleak it may feel at certain points, and a lot of that I'm sure is actually just in your mind. And I'm saying this because from personal experience, from talking to plenty of other people, don't give up. Just focus on the things that you need to focus on. Talk to the people that are getting results. Try to implement that into it. Stay focused, stay positive, and just continue to work. Continue to do that. Things will turn out the way that it's supposed to turn out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So appreciate you guys hopping on this week and sharing the hour with us. And then let's go out there and continue to push, continue to help and serve families out there. Continue to do better for your family. Let's go out there and be elite, guys. Thanks, guys.
Peace.